We've got big time news here for those of us who enjoy the Trimet show. Um, First of all, the powers of Trimet actually streamed their board meeting today. This is the first time they've done that since the COVID nonsense. They actually streamed the meeting live, and not only did they stream the meeting live, but they actually had the chat next to it, and they were actually allowing comments. Now, it turns out that they deleted the comments I made later, along with Pootie's comments. But be that as it may, I don't have to ask them to post the damn meeting. It's right here. It is. It's right here. The same day of the meeting. It's posted on their website, and they streamed it live, and they had the chat. So that's big progress as far as I'm concerned. So I'm always glad to see little moves in the right direction by these people. You know how attached I am to these Trimet. Even though none of them know who I am, they don't know me. They only know me by reputation, I suppose, and that's not good. I'm not popular. Anyway, it's right here. I mean, I just can't. I'm pretty Trimeted out already, and it's pretty late here back east. But I'm Trimeted out because I didn't have any help with the calls at all. Usually, Rippy will post half the day. Sometimes Pootie will pick up the slack. But today, nobody helped me. I had to do all the calls, and it took me fucking hour. I don't know. It took me 4 hours, I think, to get them up, and I took a break in the middle. But I spent a lot of time on those calls, and they're always worth listening to. I mean, of all the Trimet material, that's my most favorite thing to listen to is life on the Trimet bus, and just be thankful that I don't have to deal with that anymore. Anyway, I'm going to watch the public testimonies because I got to get started on this right away. Excuse me. Sorry. Because this is 4 hours. Can you believe this? Look at how long this is. They got a 4-hour meeting here. And I'd watched part of it, and they were talking about the general manager. It was pretty good. There were some pretty good comments by some of these. I like Kathy. I like Keith. I thought Warner was going to be gone. I guess he's still here. Come on, Warner, go away now. Go be with your buddy Travis. Make up the declaration of how great they are. We're hereby Bruce Warner is the greatest man ever invented and alive, and hereby this and hereby that. We hereby give Bruce Warner a lovely goodbye. Okay, let's hear. Let's start.
Standards, but Trimet continually uses the APTA standards in negotiations as the gold standard.
What's this?
And if APTA is recommending stuff about obviously we're a lot of us here to talk about the apprenticeship.
Wait a minute. What is this? Did they? So they're already into the public forum. I hope we didn't miss anything here.
Program. So for those of you that don't know me, good morning, President Warner. It's good to see you. My name is Anthony Forster, and I'm a member of ATU 757.
Okay, yeah, he's done board testimonies for quite a while now, and he's pretty good too. So let's hear him. He's a rail operator.
Those of you that don't know me, I'm the executive board officer for light rail operators.
Oh yeah.
I've been at Trimet for 22 years, and I've seen a lot of changes. Some of them for the better, some of them not. In all that I've seen, in all of your programs, the apprenticeship program is continually one of the best programs that Trimet has. Not only to make sure that its people are better, but to make sure that this agency can move into the future, right? And that's a fundamental piece of why Trimet has even seen the success that it has during my 22 years, and even before that, is the apprenticeship program. It's consistently delivered men and women to the agency, to the ranks of the people that have fixed all that I've broken in my 22 years. I've seen people that have gone through the apprenticeship program that can literally resurrect buses and trains from the dead, right? Performing miracle feats of mechanics on this equipment, saving the agency thousands of dollars by their training. I've talked to so many mechanics that came to Trimet with skills that were quite honestly lacking when they came to Trimet. And they had a break. They got hired as a cleaner, and then they added to their skills through the training, through the apprenticeship programs that the agency provided. And in this, they have actually been able to start taking care of their family better, taking care of their community better, right? That's finally that they finally have these resources and then the time that they can give back to the community and to all those that are around them. This is a fundamental part of organization and my union, quite honestly, that when you've been given, then you can give back to those that are around you, that you can lift up all those people that are around you through having the ability and the resources and the time. This program is not just about keeping our organization moving forward. It's about keeping the families and all of our communities moving forward. I'm a third generation union guy. My granddad was a part of the Engineers Local 701. He built Oregon. He built Autzen Stadium. He built I-5. He built dams in the Cascades. The apprenticeship program that he entered into allowed him to bring his family out of poverty. His kids, his grandkids, his great-grandkids have kept this moving through this training, through the apprenticeship that he went through. Apprenticeships have always been a fundamental building block of our organization, right? Groups around the nation are trying to figure out how to expand these programs because of the benefits that apprenticeship programs bring to the organizations. That's why I don't get why Trimet's trying to get rid of their apprenticeship program. In my opinion, if this program's gone, so will a fundamental pillar of Trimet be gone and how we have moved forward. Group after group is showing how important these programs are. Even with as partisan as Washington is right now, and we all know that it's just freaking, there's chasms between the parties. There's a bipartisan bill that's making its way through Congress because of what apprenticeships add to organizations. There are so many things that Trimet has been ahead of the curve on. Electric buses, light rail vehicles. I mean, good golly, even the light rail system itself was ahead of its time back in the 80s, back in the 70s and 80s. When it comes to the apprenticeship program, it seems that the agency is not only behind the curve, but they're not even on the same road as so many people and politicians and agencies that I'm reading about.
Anthony, I'm going to have to ask you to wrap up.
Oh, come on,
please.
Bruce. Give him a minute or two.
All right.
Jesus. God damn you, Warner.
Our agency ahead of the curve. I want to keep the apprenticeship program, and I want to keep our agency moving forward. And I think that's what you all want to do, and I think that we all need to be on the same page. So, again, President Warner, it's good to see you. Hope you're doing well. And members of the board, thank you for your time.
Anthony, thank you for your comments. I think when we get done with this, it probably is, at least what I see, is it's time for everybody to understand what the issues really are in this, because I want to make it clear, Trimet is very supportive of training. I think we need to understand where we are in the contract negotiations. So I'm going to ask staff to come back maybe at our next meeting with some real specific background and information on this, because I know there's a lot of unfair labor practices.
Why can't you just answer the question now, not come back next month? They already know the answer to this question. What's the reason? We already know the reason. It's union busting. They're gonna make the same old tired stories that it's more cost effective to do it, which is a complete lie. There's no justification for changing that apprentices program other than busting the union, and they should address it right now, not later.
Practices being negotiated or going to be decided by the Employee Relations Board shortly. We ought to get the update on that, and we ought where the differences really are, because I think there's a lot of talking back and forth between folks that are really not. I think we're not connecting at all in terms of what we're asking for, we think, and what we are clear what the union asked for. So I think we need to spend a little bit of time on that, Doug, maybe at our next meeting.
Yeah. Well, how about now?
All right. Let's go on to the next speaker, Jeff.
All right. Next up is Jim Bennett. Jim, go ahead.
What's this?
Jim, are you there?
What the hell is this? Jim. Click open.
I don't hear anybody.
Jim, if you're
nothing there.
You're unmuted.
This is nothing.
Yeah, I don't think this is going to happen.
Go to the next speaker then, please.
All right. Jamie Partridge.
Well, they screwed it up.
Jamie, go ahead.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
We can.
Great. Hello, good morning, board, and especially my reps from Northeast, Keith Edwards.
Hello.
I'm a retired mail carrier. I represent a union at the Northwest Oregon Labor Council. I'm on the executive board of the Jobs with Justice Coalition. I'm a bus and max worker. I want to focus on the potential loss of jobs to the community if Trimet continues with its current strategy, specifically contracting out more and more work and doing away with our maintenance apprenticeship programs. And not only is Trimet not prioritizing the upward mobility of its own workers, it's not even prioritizing the Tri-County area, often contracting out work to an out-of-state company. Trimet's contracting out union maintenance work, and now is attempting to eliminate a 40-year-old apprenticeship program. This sends a message to the community, our community riders, that safety is not first. I worry that our members, all riders, are not going to be safe if Trimet continues with its plans to eliminate the apprenticeship program, or if you continue to contract work out to and contracting out the work often results in a lower quality product and a higher price, not to mention that the money you're using to contract the work out to out-of-state companies is coming out of Oregon taxpayer pockets and the line profit margins of these private companies. It's not good for our community. We should be keeping jobs in the Tri-County area, not sending them out of state. Our riders will be safer if we have people who care about them working on the buses and trains. Now, the apprenticeship program, it's good because it increases diversity in the workforce. It opens doors for people who may not normally have the opportunity to be licensed workers. And Trimet's only proposed alternative, as I understand it at this point, has been that workers attend school on their own time, which this isn't a viable option for many people with families. You shouldn't be decreasing the number of people who have access to these jobs as you're also expanding the service. And which brings me to the fear that Trimet doesn't have a plan for maintaining electric buses. We're well on the way to electric buses, but the plan right now is to steal maintenance workers that already have training, mostly from school districts and car dealerships. And what are you going to do when this pool is no longer available and we have electric buses to work on? And instead of getting rid of the apprenticeship, you should be preparing to train mechanics to work on the new buses, planning on spending millions of taxpayer dollars on. So please keep the in-house apprenticeship program and contracting out. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jamie. Appreciate it. Jeff?
Okay. I was able to get a hold of Jim in the chat, so we're going to go back to him.
Okay, good.
Well,
Jim, go ahead.
Oh, yeah, I didn't come in.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah.
Outstanding. Good morning, President Warner, members of the Trimet board. Let me quickly introduce myself. I'll try to be brief. My name is Jim Bennett. I'm the elected executive board officer at 2757 of C-Tran in Vancouver, Washington. Also like to say good morning to Sam DeSue. I'm glad to see him at Trimet. It was a pleasure to work for him during my tenure at Pierce Transit. I was recently shocked to hear that the Trimet was considering to do away with the bus mechanic apprenticeship program. It is such an integral part of this agency. I work for across the river. It makes our members and riders feel safer, creates great paying entry-level jobs to people who would not normally have the opportunity to become journey workers, although our maintenance employees here at C-Tran are not represented by the ATU, but rather our brother union and sister union workers over at the International Association of Machinist Workers. We work closely together. These employees in the apprenticeship program are an integral part of the maintenance department and have the full support of our agency CEO, C-Tran executive staff management, and the C-Tran board of directors. Also currently, C-Tran is working with the ATU and the Transportation Learning Center, which you heard from earlier, in developing an operator apprenticeship program as well, to include operator mentor program. I'd say apprenticeships are a time-tested approach to training and developing skilled labor. And by investing in talent development through these apprenticeships, Trimet gains a pipeline of loyal skilled workers, increase productivity, and improve the bottom line. The investment is definitely worth it. One of the other points I'd like to make is that as the industry moves towards electric buses, here at C-Tran, we're working on getting our first electric buses here. It is perplexing to me why Trimet would be working so hard to eliminate their training program when they should be getting it ready to work on electric buses. If they do not,
It's not perplexing. It's union busting. That's what it is. Just call it what it is. They've been actively busting the union since McFarland, and they haven't changed course on that whatsoever.
who's going to do the work? What will happen to the people working on the buses now? You're going to need all these loyal, skilled laborers when it comes right down to it. Seems like Trimet will contract out the work. It's kind of, is that what's going to happen? That's what they seem to prefer. I've heard my brothers and sisters talk about Trimet contracting out the maintenance work, and not just outside of Trimet, but out of state. And this is wrong-headed. Speaking of out of state and where Oregon tax dollars are being spent, Trimet also contracts out their paratransit, which sends taxpayer dollars out of the country to a for-profit business.
That's right.
This is not what public services are about. The C-Tran.
That's right. That's a Scottish company, and Lyft is horrible.
We're proud to have our paratransit services in-house. We are. We have better paid transit.
Wow, see?
Paratransit workers and provide a better service.
See, this is C-Tran. They have all of their paratransit inside. They're not privatized. Privatized is only so that somebody can make profit off of the public service. It's the biggest scam going. The whole idea that somehow privatization of public services will lead to more efficiency is a scam and a lie. Taxpayer dollars should never be privatized, ever. But we live in this neoliberal hell where we have a class of murderous psychopaths who live off of us. They live in mansions and castles, which they have because they're killing us. And I'm not saying that as a hyperbole. That's actually the fact.
To our community. We have a higher retention, which leads to more experience and a much safer and better quality experience for our passengers. And hopefully with our next contract, we'll bring those C-Van operators to full wage parity with fixed route. Why? Because they're worth every penny. When we bought paratransit in-house several years ago, C-Tran staff reported to the C-Tran board of directors that they saved over $100,000 over what they had paid to the subcontractor. And that was even after a wage increase of over $3 per hour and benefit improvements of well over 5%. Think about that. So Trimet used to be the best transit agency in the country. I really thought so. I've been in the industry for a long time. 2 years ago, I have to say, C-Tran took on that title, something we were very proud of. I hope the Trimet board will put pressure on Trimet to stop falling behind industry standards and start setting them again. Without any further, that's all I have. Thank you for your time.
Whoa, slap them down hard. That's beautiful. Great testimony. Can't hear you, Bruce.
All right. I'm going to go to a call-in user next. I do not have your name, but you will get a notification in your ear that your mic has been unmuted.
Come on, Trimet. Leader in technology. Come on.
Go ahead whenever you're ready.
Come on, leader in technology, remember?
Yes.
My name is Richard Larson. I'm a member of ATU 757, and I've been a paratransit worker for over 27 years.
20.
And I agree.
27 years at Lyft. Let's see. Should we even recognize his voice?
With my fellow workers that in the past testimony that they said that they're putting their lives on the line there, and they're working very hard at this time is COVID, and we need to better serve them. Again, I agree that Trimet has refused to release some of these federal funds to reinstate some of our fellow employees.
Mm-hmm.
Last summer or last spring, Trimet First Transit laid off nearly 300 of our people here, and about 200 are still not working here.
Wow.
They lost their health care, and even while the COVID is still spreading. our jobs are essential and to the population that we serve. For them, it's the only way.
So what do you say, 300?
Saving programs.
Did you say 300 Lyft drivers got laid off? Wow. Remember how they were bragging, oh, look, we're keeping our Lyft drivers on, they're delivering meals. Well, that was a scam.
Even life-saving vaccine. And today, I want to ask you to reconsider putting some more funding towards our reemployment because we serve a vulnerable population. That's all I have right now. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much for your
Don't give him a
comments.
thank you, just do it.
Jeff?
All right, Bill Bradley, you're up next.
Good testimony.
ahead.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Can't hear you.
Okay. President Warner, members of the Trimet board, thanks for taking the time to hear my testimony this morning. My name is Bill Bradley, and I'm an executive board officer with ATU 757. I want to take the time today to talk about two specific topics that will intertwine with the overall challenge facing Trimet. First, Trimet's maintenance apprenticeships are a long-recognized model for training the technical workforce that keeps transit fleets moving. Since the mid-'80s, Trimet and ATU have worked together to develop entry-level workers into highly skilled craftsmen. Apprenticeships are critical now more than ever as our industry adapts to the technological shifts of alternative propulsion, whether that's battery electric or hydrogen fuel cells. The Department of Labor says 94% of workers that come out of registered apprenticeships are employed upon completion. Trimet has done better than that through its current model, where 100% of apprentices that are completed are employed. The Department of Labor also says that apprenticeships will lead to more tax revenues for localities and reduce demand on public assistance. These statistics are so striking that Representative Bonamici from Oregon's 1st District was a chief co-sponsor of the National Apprenticeship Act of 2021 that was introduced this week in the U.S. House of Representatives. Congressman Bonamici was quoted saying, "As we face historic levels of unemployment, apprenticeships will provide a pathway for displaced and dislocated workers to find critical upskilling and reskilling opportunities." She goes on to say, registered apprenticeships are a powerful tool to help workers who have historically faced barriers to entering the workforce and accessing good-paying jobs. The stark incongruence of public policy is disturbing. While Oregon's federal delegation is looking to expand apprenticeships, Trimet is looking to shutter them. Our two organizations must have a common goal to work together,
Right.
so that the transition to electric vehicles can be smooth, not just for the workers' benefit, but the entire region's benefit. At my home employer, Lane Transit District in Eugene, we have been working together in high-voltage vehicles since the early 2000s. Now our fleet has 5 times more high-voltage vehicles than Trimet's. LTD currently has 50 diesel-electric hybrids, and ATU and LTD have worked hand in glove since the outset of high-voltage introduction. Using a combination of in-house, OEM, regional transit agency partners like Seattle Metro, and vendor-specific training, our mechanics understand high-voltage safety and have the skills to diagnose, repair, and rebuild the entire electrical system of these fleets. Now, with the recent addition of battery electric buses from New Flyer, ATU and LTD traveled together to inspect and warrant the New Flyer plant in Anniston, Alabama. ATU's maintenance officer at LTD is also the lead electrical bus inspector. ATU has proven that we are up to the challenge throughout the region, but Trimet does not want to be a partner. The second topic I'd like to address is leadership. Trimet needs to find some. I would encourage anyone who hasn't read the 2014 report by then Secretary of State Kate Brown to give it a look. They've acknowledged the lack of communication between Trimet management and frontline staff. It encouraged Trimet to find ways to improve this. One way to bridge that gap is to actually discuss the issues that frontline staff wants to engage in, like the apprenticeships. Trimet has postured that because perhaps they're not legally obligated to discuss these issues, they will not engage. Trimet for years has used a form of power on employees that I would describe as power over, which tends to push down on employees to achieve goals. I would encourage the approach of power through employees. The idea of the power over style of leadership is based on mistrust, where power through can only be achieved when there's mutual trust and respect from each party. This form of power is actually more durable and more productive. I once sat in a room where a man gave a presentation on this topic. That man now works on Trimet's executive team. I know the ideas are there to
Look at this, Bruce. This is hilarious. Bruce is trying to talk and he's muted. He's trying to cut him off.
reconcile this relationship
But we can't hear him.
organization. The board must absolutely advise Trimet's current and future leadership that working together with the union is the right way forward. Dealing with the union from a purely legal perspective is a failure for its employees and our region. TriMet must now turn to a collaborative relationship to help build trust and meet the needs of the workforce and our region moving forward. I appreciate your time this morning. Thank you for the work you do. I know it's volunteer and you guys do dedicate a lot of time. So thanks for hearing from me.
No, they don't. They come in once a month for the stupid meeting. That's it. And I'm against the board. I'm against the way that it functions. I'm against the way it's appointed. I'm against it. This is neoliberalism here. Appointed elites from the head elite. See, Bruce is muted. We can't hear him.
Thank you. Jeff, could you go on to the next speaker, please?
There we go.
Yes, next up is Sarah Ayanaron.
Oh, well, how about that? The former candidate for mayor, now head of something called the, what is it? Street Trust? I forgot. I don't know who. There's something to do with bikes.
Good morning. Can you hear me?
We can.
Great. Hi. I'm here on behalf of the Street Trust, a nonprofit working to improve public transit, walking, and bicycling in Oregon. Since 1990, we've been working.
Oh, by the way, she could have beaten Wheeler had, I don't really do Portland politics. I don't follow that. But there was another candidate besides Wheeler that took off just enough votes so that Wheeler was able to win the election. What was her name? She's been around. Teresa Rayford, that's it. And so they were stuck with Wheeler again. Or you're stuck with him. I'm not stuck with him. He's not. I don't live over there. The Portland version of Donald Trump.
Working in partnership with businesses, community groups, and agencies like yours to make sure that residents of our state can meet their daily transportation needs. And we're a proud member of the Getting There Together Coalition. We're here in support of their recommendations for the general manager hiring process, and I imagine that they're going to testify here this morning to you, and they've also put those recommendations in a letter calling for an inclusive, transparent, and public hiring process with meaningful participation from community members. So I won't repeat what they're going to say. But I do want to emphasize the importance of this right now. TriMet's board is appointed, as you know, not elected, and thus you're not directly accountable to the people.
Right.
And while we trust you will seek and hire well-qualified candidates, it's important to tap into the knowledge and power of our residents.
Right.
Going beyond checking the civic engagement box to truly improve the hiring process.
Right.
We've watched in cities like Baton Rouge where transit agencies have used civic engagement to revive struggling processes.
Baton Rouge, Louisiana? Oh my God, Portland's so backwards in so many ways. Portland Trimet, it's just such a closed network. They've been able to operate for so long without any accountability. They don't even think of accountability because they haven't had it ever.
And they've had meaningful evolution and growth by investing in robust civic engagement around matters like this. And it's improved the agency's standing in the community. The public in this process and into the future is going to be critical for TriMet through our COVID crisis and beyond, as we're asking riders and the public to support our agency's recovery and renewal and to help us continuing our work of drive alone trips and meeting our climate action and equity goals. I want to be clear, none of us are arguing that the management of a major regional public transportation system is anything less than a Herculean undertaking for even the most qualified bureaucrat who's adept at managing intergovernmental relationships and ensuring effective project and service delivery and balancing budgets in a shifting landscape. However, these qualifications are not sufficient in today's context. Portland's transit agency at this time of intense civil rights reckoning and recalibration needs a people's manager who's willing to use their political power to do more than build the real estate capacity alongside our investments at this time.
To do more than build the real estate capacity. And that is what's been going on for the last 20 years at TriMet when they pivoted from being a transit agency to being a property development agency. And that's why they were failing so badly before the pandemic. The ridership has been flat, and it's actually, if you take the population growth versus the ridership has gone down versus the population growth. people stopped riding Trimet in relation to the amount of people moving to Portland. Trimet ridership has been flat for a decade.
We need a transit agency focused on building human capacity and realizing transportation justice through all of our services and investments. That said, meaningful community engagement in this hiring process, I'm sure, will increase our ability to achieve the latter. The next head of Trimet must understand and be committed to looking beyond choice riders to meeting the needs of underserved and transit-dependent riders, to be a champion for racial equity in public.
The choice riders are gone, and they're not coming back. Okay, the choice riders are gone. That's gone. COVID started the end of that. That whole idea was flawed anyway, but they're not coming back on that system now.
Public safety reform to support the needs of our region workers, including those employed by Trimet, it sounds like, and committed to ensuring a sustainable regional economy in the future. Thank you very much for your dedication and service, and please don't hesitate to reach out to the Street Trust for our support in this matter.
Thank you for your testimony and congratulations on your new position there. And we will look forward to working with you as we move forward on our search for a new general
Street Trust
manager.
do anyway?
Jeff, how many folks do we have left, since we've already expended our 45 minutes here this morning? But I want to make sure
It hasn't been 45 minutes, Bruce. You have 23 minutes on the counter here, unless we missed part of the testimonies, which is possible.
Provide opportunity if we have a limited few left.
We have 7 left.
Yeah, well.
What's the board's feeling on this? Do you want to keep going here?
What do you mean? You're going to just cut them off? Let's see if they do that. How dare you? How dare you? He wants to cut them off.
Okay, why don't we keep going, Jeff?
Yeah.
All right.
See, this guy Warner has got to go. He's a bureaucrat's bureaucrat. You know, of course, you can't give, I mean, it's insulting. You don't want to give, so we did miss see, we're 23 minutes on the counter here. So Trimet's, the leader in technology, screwed it up again because we're missing 22 minutes of testimonies. Attaboy, Trimet, good job. Shit, you do something right, you have to do something wrong, apparently. You just can't get it right, can you? No matter what you do over there, you just can't get it right.
Next up is Greg Patton.
Greg, if I could ask you to be brief.
Why don't you shut up?
Good morning.
Warner. You're not even supposed to be on this board anymore. You're supposed to be out of here. You're sitting in your fucking house. You can't you can't go on. You're sitting in your fucking house.
Good morning.
Thank you for listening to me. I'm a driver at First Transit, and I'm a member of ATN 757. I'd like to agree with John McElpine, who's already spoken, and Mr. Jim Bennett, and Richard Larson, also a paratransit driver. In particular, First Transit laid off nearly 300 people last March, me being one of them. And this happened during the pandemic, and we lost our health insurance as well. And this has been tragic to a lot of my fellow workers.
I'll bet
I'd also like to support the apprenticeship program. I've seen.
How come all those people weren't recruited to be cleaners? Why weren't those people brought over as cleaners? Why were they just left out to hang out to dry? What's the matter with this company? What's this? Who the hell is that? Jesus.
Personally, how well that can work. On-the-job training is awesome, and I think that's the way to go. Thank you for your work. I really like my job, and I look forward to going back to work.
Yeah, we'll put him back to work. And stop. How the hell did I fucking... Yeah, well, that was quick enough, wasn't it?
Thank you, Greg. And next up is Carrie Schlosshauer.
Who called me?
Thank you. Good morning, President Warner and members of the board. My name is Kari Schlosshauer, and I'm a co-leader with the Getting There Together Coalition.
Yeah.
We're a multicultural, multi-generational coalition that centers and uplifts the voices and needs of people most impacted by transportation inequities. And we do that through education, advocacy, access, and leadership. I first wanted to just say thank you for honoring Rosa Parks' legacy today and instituting an annual fare-free Rosa Parks Day on February 4th. We're definitely looking forward to seeing that day come around each year and hope to see it grow and expand. The next most important topic of the day for all of us really is the hiring of your next general manager. So together with more than 20 other community organizations, we wrote to you in December expressing our concerns about the process and community input for hiring the next GM. We thank you so much for listening to our concerns and slowing down the process to involve the community in this essential decision. And today we're asking the board of directors for fair representation and calling on you to intentionally create an inclusive, transparent, and public hiring process with meaningful participation from community members. We're making 3 asks. We are calling on you to build a hiring process that brings forth candidates that will address our region's most pressing needs, looking beyond choice ridership to include the needs of transit-dependent riders, leading with racial equity, supporting your transit operators, including what you've heard today from your ATU members, addressing public safety reform, and making moves on equitable transit-oriented development and affordable housing, climate emissions reductions, and improved air quality. We know you can't do all of these things alone, and it takes you working with others in the region to truly address the needs of our transportation system. Second, we're asking you to embark upon a broad nationwide search with deliberate efforts to reach transit professionals who have success with both improving and expanding service in an equitable manner, and ensure that an open process happens where anyone who applies will be considered. Third, we're asking for guaranteed public opportunities for engagement of candidate finalists prior to a hiring decision being made, because the community deserves to know all the final candidates and the potential they can bring to our community. But pre-COVID even, those of us who use and rely on the transit system, we have been hearing and we have been saying that our transit system just isn't working for a number of reasons. It doesn't run where or when we need it, it's too expensive, or it doesn't feel safe, or all of these things or other things. We really need to make sure that the next general manager will listen to the community's needs. And in order for that to happen, we call on you to make sure the community has a say in the process. Thank you for your service and thank you for your time today.
Thank you very much for your comments. Appreciate it. Jeff.
All right, next up is Lee H.
Hi, everyone. Can you hear me?
We can.
I did not come on today to necessarily uplift the ATU demands, but I would like to just echo that and say that if there are any ATU folks left on the call, that as a...
Oops, we lost you.
Lee, are you there?
Yes. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah, no, yes.
So yeah, if anyone from ATU would like to connect with me personally, my email is lee@opalpdx.org. Feel free to send me an email. I would also just like to echo what Kari just said, uplifting the GTT coalition's ask in the hiring of the general manager. And I think from the work session that happened, there's a ton of alignment for what we all want to see, and your transparency in that process is definitely appreciated. I'm excited to hear about what potential roles TIAC and CAT can play in that process as well. And yeah, I'm just hoping we can kind of get clarity around what that timeline will look like for the hiring of the next general manager. I wasn't able to stay on for the entirety of the work session. And if there are any other, if there's any other feedback that you all would like as a representative of Opal, Bus Riders Unite, and GTT, feel free to email me personally.
Thank you, Lee.
All right, we're going to Shirley Block next.
Okay, Shirley, go
Shirley.
get him.
Good morning, board.
Good morning, board.
My name is Shirley.
Good morning. Why don't you? Good morning, sock puppets. Now look, see this timer here? It says 29:49. And he said two or three testimonies ago that they had reached their 45 minutes. See, public forum will begin at 9 a.m. for a maximum of 45 minutes.
Block President, ATU 757. And as president, I do not just represent the interests of Trimet employees. I also represent the interests of their families, other transit workers in Oregon and Washington, our riders, and our taxpayers. If I am not mistaken, so do you. Trimet is currently making decisions that are not...
You are mistaken. They do not represent you or me. They represent the neoliberal elites. Okay?
Not in the best interest of all of those parties, and unfortunately, those decisions will undoubtedly result in a loss of jobs in the Portland area. I am here to ask you to think hard about letting one man make a decision to eliminate the training program that has been around and working for years. We have come to be you before and asked for support in saving the apprenticeship program at Trimet. You'll recall that Val Hall
and we know that the Trimet board is there to back up the general manager. They are not there for the public. They are not there for the union. They are there for the neoliberal elite. Stop pretending they're there for us, because they're not. Okay, these people are our enemies.
The community partners joined us in this plea in previous meetings. And today we are joined by the community partners and other unions and locals and Transportation Learning Center. We have all of their support because losing our apprenticeship program does not just affect us. It affects our community, our riders, and other transit agencies and apprenticeships throughout the country. Trimet has committed to going full electric by 2040, but will not commit to training its own employees to maintain it.
That's, right. Well, yeah, pretty bad, man.
This will result in a loss of jobs to other members, our members, and to this community. Trimet has decided to eliminate a 40-year apprenticeship program rather than motorizing it. This will result in this less safe transit center, less entry-level jobs, and less diversity. Trimet has decided not to prioritize keeping work in-house, but instead becoming a more dependent on contracting out. This will result in fewer corporate jobs, lower quality service, and sending Oregon tax dollars out of the state. Trimet has decided that it is no longer necessary to maintain an apprenticeship program that has served as a national model to other agencies. This will result in other agencies following suit, and Trimet has decided that this is no longer important to be the best transit agency or even on the best transit list.
Yep.
This will continue to result in a continuous decrease in morale, safety, pride, and if Trimet will not hold itself to a higher standard that used to make us the best, that would mean you and I must work together to do this. Today we find ourselves where we have been before, asking you to hold Trimet to a higher standard and prioritize transit workers and the riders. And to save the apprenticeship program, you were responsible to finding yet another new general manager. I certainly hope the new general manager know how to build a relationship with labor to work together. My hope is that we can treat this as a new beginning rather than doing the same old thing. Let's work together to make the public transit better, to keep...
Do you know how long the union has been asking these deaf, dumb, and blind managers to work together? Like a decade? Something like that. And they're falling on deaf ears. You might as well talk to the wall.
Taxpayer dollars where they belong, to create jobs, and to find a general manager who is willing to work with us to reach this goal. We are asking Trimet to be a team player with us, not fight with us. And I hope that general manager is ready. And thank you for your time.
Appreciate it.
And he wouldn't even give Shirley, the head of the union, he wouldn't even give her an extra. He was making an issue out of her going a little bit over her time. What a fucking disgrace. I can't watch this shit because it pisses me off, because what you're seeing here is versions of Trump, okay? Disconnected elites doing what they want and completely disregarding people that are involved in this other than their own fucking point of view. This is the government we have now.
Jeff?
Okay, Frederick Casey, you're up next.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'll try to keep mine so my name is Frederick Casey, short. My name is Frederick Casey. I'm the elected ATU Executive Board Officer for Trimet salaried employees. So basically I represent...
That was Shirley's old job.
...and anybody who doesn't work in maintenance or as an operator, but is in the union. So I'll trim down what I had written because we're short on time. Since January 4th, I am aware of at least 11 assaults on our members. That's 11 assaults. So that's roughly
11 assaults since January 4th?
One every 48 hours. Do our members feel protected? No, they do not. Do they feel that Trimet management is there to support them and has their safety in their best interest? No, they do not. They are immediately suspect in any assault. Management questions what they did wrong and how did they provoke the incident instead of asking the more human question of, are you okay? And while the member sweats about their job and their livelihood, the criminal who assaulted them walks free or gets a slap on the wrist and is released to potentially do it again, and oftentimes does. The other factor that members fear that if they are assaulted, they can't fight back to defend themselves, because in most cases they will likely be, at minimum, hit with a hefty suspension, if not outright terminated. This includes anybody that's been off on work comp for any period of time due to an injury they received from an assault. When they get back, they are faced with disciplinary action or investigatory meetings, wondering what they did wrong. This is the type of company that has been growing for the last 3 years. Safety is not a priority here anymore, not in any sense that we have held for many, many years here. This is the company that you have allowed to happen and that management continues to foster.
Right. Well, okay. Yeah. Okay. You know how I am about these assaults. I mean, I know there are definite cases. Well, I don't want to get into that right now. That's not as black and white as he's making it sound. Okay. There and people know that. All right, people know it's not. If you're told to not mention the fairs, and then you make an issue out of the fair, and then you get assaulted. Now, whose fault is that, really? Okay, if you're told not to make an issue out of the masks, and then you go ahead and you make an issue out of the masks, and then you end up assaulted, well, whose fault is that? It's not a black and white issue here on these assaults.
I don't know if this is the type of company that you wanted, but it's the type of company that you have. Our workers here at Trimet are a reflection of our community. They are a mirror image of it. They work in it, they live in it, they are here. You tend to hire people that are way outside of this community, that have no ties to this community. Yes.
That's right. He's right about this. I'm glad he's talking about this.
Community, and are usually here for a short spat to bolster their resume and move on somewhere else. The board should focus on looking at promoting within, fostering relationships with the union, and providing a pathway to people that know this community, that live into this community, to help manage Trimet. That's all I have, really. It's not
good.
Safe here.
No, it's not safe. No, you're working as a bus driver during the collapse of civilization, where the top 20% are reaping unbelievable wealth, and then the middle 40% are doing okay, like me. I mean, I haven't lost anything, and I seem to be okay. And then you have the bottom 20%, which have nothing. That's what we call, or actually, that'd be the 30% on the bottom who are in the ditch right now, and there's no hope to get them out of the ditch with this neoliberal government we have.
Accountability from management on anything. Everything is put onto the member. No one feels safe out here. Each garage used to have a big banner that said, "In walk the safest operators in the world." All of those have been taken down in the last 3 years. Any sense of pride about safety we've had here, any reminder that the people here at Trimet had for the safe operation that management felt that their safety was a concern, has been torn down and thrown in the trash.
Frederick, I'm going to have to ask you to
Oh,
wrap
there you
up.
go. Yeah, here you go. I'm going to have to ask you to, you're sitting in your house. What do you fucking care? You have an appointment in your house later that you have to go to? Why are you making an issue out of this? I'll tell you why. Because you're a dick. That's why. You're a dick. And you think like a dick because you used to be a public official. You don't care about the public. That's why.
Sure.
He doesn't have any excuse for this now. You got nowhere to go.
All right. Thank you, Frederick.
Yeah, right.
All right. Mary Longoria, you're up next.
Okay, Mary's next.
Good morning.
You just can't take these testimonies, huh, Bruce? It's driving you crazy to have to sit here and listen to the public. You know, he's an ex-city manager. He's been a fucking bureaucrat his whole life. He has like a $15,000 a month pension. He's one of these people that thinks they're better than everybody else because he's had all of this great fortune in his life, knows all the right people, and thinks he's important. Well, when it comes to this, he is, because he's controlling this fucking shit. And that's because we have a failed government and a failed transit system led by failed leaders.
Warner and board. My name is Mary Longoria, Financial Secretary of HU 757. We have seen over the years an increasing trend in Trimet contracting out and privatizing whatever work they can. Maintenance, shuttles, paratransit,
Right.
the list goes on.
Right.
We don't want this to keep happening. In
Right.
fact, we have asked before, we want to get this work back in-house.
Yes, and as we know, you're talking to a wall with the board. The board is not there for us. Now, what are we going to do about it? This is a problem. I mean, COVID world order has now put us more on the reservation than ever before. We were already on the reservation, but now they have us locked in.
Paratransit services are provided to our most vulnerable populations and should be prioritized, not treated as an afterthought. And that is what Trimet is doing now, treating our brothers and sisters at First Transit, Regions 1, 2, and 3 as afterthoughts.
Right.
Trimet has continuously refused to send any CARES Act funds to these regions to prevent layoffs.
Wow.
As a result, some 200 people remain laid off, and we do not know the extent of the service cuts to the populations they serve. We know that paratransit can be better. Jim Bennett brought up C-Tran, and they are, provides a more efficient and higher rated service. And theirs is in-house, and Washington taxpayer dollars stay in Washington.
Right.
I will also cut mine short. I do think that bringing paratransit back in-house is a smart thing to do, especially right now.
It needs to be, it never should have been contracted out in the first place. But you know how these things are running. I mean, Portland is not a progressive city any longer. It's a neoliberal shithole. You know, you have tents everywhere. You have people in the street. You have riots. This is not the result of just the Democrats, as the Republicans would have you believe. This is the result of neoliberal policy, which has created the disparity of wealth, which has created the conditions of homelessness and ditch people.
You know, the jobs need to stay here. I also want to parrot what Bill Bradley said. Congresswoman Bonamici said, in Oregon and around the country, registered apprenticeships, pre-apprenticeships, and youth apprenticeships are helping workers gain the skills and support services they need to provide for themselves and their families. As we face historic levels of unemployment They also provide a pathway for displaced and dislocated workers to find critical upskilling and reskilling opportunities. Registered apprenticeships are a powerful tool to help workers who have historically faced barriers to entering the workforce and to have access to good paying jobs. So I know that you had said earlier that you aren't going to get rid of training, but what you are doing is getting rid of an apprenticeship, state registered apprenticeship program that keeps our community safe. Thank you for listening.
Don't thank them.
Mary, thank you very much for hanging in there.
Yeah, sure.
Jeff?
All right, our last raised hand is Mary Botkin.
Mary Botkin. Who's that?
Good morning, Mary.
Good morning. Am I off mute now?
We can hear you.
Okay. I just want to be sure that you got my written statement on behalf of ATU.
We did.
Okay. And the only thing I would add to that is as you look for a general manager, it would be helpful if you look for someone who has a positive background with labor relations and in collective bargaining. I think that anybody who has a good background of being able to successfully resolve collective bargaining issues at the lowest level rather than at the highest level would be a good hire for Trimet. I'm a native Portlander, so I remember when Trimet was Rose City Transit, and I don't use it as much as I used to. I do value the service that you provide and hope that you will consider maintaining the apprenticeship program and also take a look at the background of anyone you hire for the general manager position to make sure that they have some positive experience with collective bargaining so that issues can be resolved at the lowest levels. Anyway, thank you very much.
Thank you again, Mary, for hanging in here. I appreciate it. And
thank you.
We do have your material, and we will be discussing the position description later on in our agenda, where it was clear that we wanted to see those kind of attributes in it. And I think if you hang in there, you can listen to those if you want also. So with that,
hang in and listen.
All right, thank you. With that, I'm going to close the public forum and move forward to our regular meeting. How's the board doing? Are we hanging in there? Anybody need a 5-minute break or anything?
All right.
Is that a yes, Keith?
All right, let me just check, make sure I'm not mistaken here. Now I'm all the way back at 0. Let's see.
I didn't get who said about the.
See, they're in the middle. They cut off the beginning.
Standards in negotiations as the.
See, they cut off the very beginning. They cut off half of the public testimonies. Can you believe that? Well, guess what, folks? I'm going to do a public records request on it because I want to hear what they said. I bet you it was the Opal people they cut off. I bet you.